Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and this is another Shropshire church. This is the church of St Mary the Virgin, Alveley. Alveley is a little bit up the road from Quat, and the two churches are linked together. This is the bigger village, and it's a bigger church, and it's again quite an old one. You can just see over there some Norman arches. Behind me there is a 13th century chancel, so it's a 12th century building that is then extended and altered over time. There's some 14th century work, and there's a 15th century clerestory, as we shall see as we go around. Some interesting memorials, of course. This is, in general, a very nice Shropshire church. Unfortunately, it's had the all too common Victorian, let's take all the wall plaster off, which is a problem for various reasons, one of which is that the red sandstone here means you get a fairly gloomy interior. The other is, I think of Alveley up the road, and it's, what about wall paintings that may have been here that have been lost because the Victorians decided to expose all the stonework? Antiquarians today are horrified by some of that, but there we are. We'll have a look around. There's quite a lot to see here. That's criticism of the Victorian Restoration more than anything else, so let's have a look around. We start then at the back, and this is the font. You can see it's 19th century. It's quite nice, but nothing much to write home about. A nice little lancet window here. Here's the War Memorial. There's Christ receiving soul in the middle, and then at the bottom we've got the Second World War. We have here a brass, 17th century, 1616, and it is John Grove, gentleman and freeman of the Right Worshipful Company of Grocers of London, born in this parish, and has endowed the local school, as men made good often did. You can see here we've got this nice 12th century, very late 12th century, but still 12th century arcade, and on the other side of the arcade, maybe even later, but you've still got this arcade on both sides. Here is memorial to Reverend G. Netchell, chaplain to H.L. Lee, Esquire of Coton Hall. Many as minister of this parish, taught the free school for 58 years, died May the 13th, 1790, in the 85th year of his age. So, in spite of this big building, the fellow who was actually undertaking the ministry wasn't a full-time rector or vicar. He was a minister, and he was a minister, that's better, who also taught part-time in the grammar school. That's just a bit bad. This is the Coton Chapel. This was the chapel for the family. This is 14th century, bit gloomy. I can't find the light switch. But this is restored in the 19th century. You've got a very good, which again you can't see very well, but there's, I'm told it's a very good reredos, painted on zinc panels. And come out here, we find you have the pulpit, which is of stone pulpit, and it's to the glory of God and memorial of the coronation of His Majesty King George V. Pulpit erected in 1911. And on the other side we have, well, that looks to me like that's the previous pulpit, which is now being used as the reading desk. And quite right too. Waste not, want not. And in this lovely early English chancel, see the typical lancet windows. The triple lancet is a reconstruction. It is Victorian, it's not original. However, it is a reconstruction of what would have been there. We have here a couple of chairs fixed securely down, obviously, because those are very, very good pieces. The sedilia and piscina, and you can see here the chancel used to be a bit lower than it is now, because you're not going to be sitting on those, and you're going to get and you can see there's that modern, well, Victorian credence shelf. You can see how much higher that is than the piscina, and it shouldn't be. And there is the east window. It's a nice bit of sort of pre-Raphaelite stuff, crucifixion, and we've got a carving of the Last Supper after Leonardo, of course, and so they're all sitting on the same side of the table, which always indeed looks a bit wasteful, but again, of course, it's artistic license, because they wouldn't be sitting anyway. They were on the triclinium, which of course is these reclining. There is the plough for Plough Sunday. Remember Plough Sunday and that video back at St Michael's on Wye in Lancashire. And it's become a thing again. It wasn't a thing really when I was a lad. As if it had been, I'd have known that, because I grew up in rural Norfolk. But and there we have it, big building. It's very much this case of, why is it that the chap who's ministering here in 1790 is the schoolmaster? He's not the actual incumbent, he's a curate. Why? Because money. Because something called pluralism, which is when a minister, a vicar, would have multiple parishes, and he'd live in one, and he'd pay curates a little bit out of the joint income of all of them for the curates to actually do all the work, at least in all but one, because and sometimes you've got pluralism where it would be a case of a man actually doing something sensible and going, we can't have a vicar in every one of these little parishes next to each other, so I'll take 2 or 3. But normally pluralism, particularly in the 18th century, is one man having lots of rich livings and doing the work of only in any one of them, and paying someone to do the work in the rest. And of course you can get the schoolmaster to do it. Well, he's already being paid to work in the parish, isn't he? So yes, it was all rather naughty. And it's something that thankfully is done away with in the 19th century because of, well, partly because the Methodists come in, and it's sort of, hang on a minute, the Methodists are doing all this work, and the Methodists, yes, that's because you're not. And here we have Penelope Grove, another nice memorial, that's 18th century. So it's a lovely building, a little bit of stained glass up there in the clerestory, and a lot of stained glass in the chapel there, and these columns, and there's the tower. You can just see in there a spiral staircase that leads up into the tower, which is rather a nice touch actually. So here we have some of the stained glass. Just have a look at a couple of them. It's a Kemp, a bit of Kemp, and this is Henry Offley Wakeman, fellow of All Souls College, Oxford, and he is Wakeman. There's a Wakeman vicar here, incumbent, prebendaries, etc. Because prebend is a it's to do with the cathedral. You have your prebendaries, and there we go. And they had quite a big income, and the prebendary would basically do the work and have somebody else actually do the prebendary would basically get the money, has to do the work in the parish. Prebendaries very often actually lived around the cathedral area. So you've got here some of the Wakemans. So that is, now we have the adoration of the shepherds. One of them's got some bagpipes, which I do not think would be appreciated. I suspect Joseph is saying to him, don't you dare start playing those bagpipes, man. Because little Lord Jesus is still a baby, and if a baby is startled by bagpipes, well, but I shouldn't make jokes about bagpipes like that. So there we have it inside at Alveley. So I'll talk around the outside now. So here we are outside at Alveley, and you can see here this lovely early English chancel. As we've noted before, it's quite common for chancels to be enlarged in the 13th century because the ceremony of the Mass is elaborated at the time. So bigger chancels allow for choirs, and they allow for all kinds of things to go on, and also they mean that the altar is further away from the people. Make of that what you will. Local Red's House, as we saw on the inside, we're up here in the Severn Valley. This is actually a hill overlooking the Severn Valley, so very common kind of location for an early settlement, and this is why we've got this Norman interior. There may very well have been a previous church. Now, of course, St Mary, the Normans are very into the Virgin Mary, and so a lot of Norman churches are dedicated to the Virgin Mary. So let's have a look around the outside and again point out some of the important features here. So first of all, we can see here, and just to get the camera at the right angle, you can see just about, it helps if the tree isn't in the way there, you can see above the roof line of the chancel, the old roof line of the nave before the clerestory was added. The chapel is 14th century, and it's called the Coton Chapel. It's associated with Coton, which is a little hamlet, really, in the parish. One of the reasons it's a big church isn't it was a big village so much. And you can see the top of the tower there. Let's get it about right. Top of the tower is Georgian. White tracery, but rounded windows. The building's been refaced several times because the local sandstone is soft. Well, the local sandstone is sandstone, and sandstone tends to be soft. It's relatively soft, and there is worse, there is softer, but it's still sandstone in the end. Quite an old table tomb there, of course. Actually, no, not a table tomb, that's a medieval stone coffin. So someone used to be in there, has been dug up, and bones have been reinterred somewhere else. Bridge North is over that way, and nice big churchyard. It's unusual to find well, not that unusual, but it's interesting to find quite so much on the north side. So, Severn Valley down there, and the Severn wends its way down to Bridge North. Well, yeah, as it went its way from Bridge North, isn't it? Get myself in the right direction. You just see there the modern graveyard extension. There's the north side of the church, that lovely early English chancel, and a bit of 15th century work, and the clerestory, and then the tower. The lower part of the tower is medieval, but the top bit is Georgian, at least if I know my architecture, which I do. And on the north side, we've got where you might think of a porch or something. That is the modern extension. That is the toilet block. Increasingly important, something that our forefathers didn't think about because, of course, they didn't have hot and cold running water and things inside. The tower is quite interesting. I'll have a look at the bottom part shortly, but we've got these interesting old memorials here. This one is quite worn. This is made of local stone. You can see it's already, well, one of the things you can do actually is you can spread a special mixture that gets it to, what's the word I'm looking for? Get it to weather, that's it. Well, it attracts lichen, better way to put it. So it means that it doesn't look quite so shiny. There's the tower looking upwards, and so round the west end, past the tower, try not to trip over anything. You can see the weathering here, and of course generations of people have carved their names on it, because that's what people do. I don't say people should, I just say people do. And more memorials on the outside of the building. Porch is Victorian, and there's the churchyard cross, rather a good example. It's a nice big solid base, and then the broken shaft atop, and there's a little street that leads to the church. There's a cul-de-sac really. So that is Alveley Church. And so St Mary's, Alveley. It's a magnificent building, quite big, and yet you've got this period when it's served by the local schoolmaster, and somebody else is getting most of the income. And this is why the 18th century is known as a period of enormous abuses in some ways. Now, that's not that it's only a period of enormous abuses, but it was a period of quite a lot of abuses. So, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, I certainly enjoyed coming out on this beautiful February day. I mean, it's unseasonably warm, perhaps. It'll be colder later. and see the snowdrops coming up and the beauties of a new beginning. Well, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.